Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with my review of Power Rangers Dino Supercharge episode 19, The Rangers Rock, which is kind of a dumb episode title. And again, I'll probably get a comment on it, but I'm doing my numbering based on my cable guide, which registers this as at 19, and it's counting the Halloween episode in a weird order, but that's my order and I'm not going to go back and change the titles. The titles aren't difficult, but like the little title cards I made are. Anyway, that's not important. What's important, I guess, is the episode discussion. So, to start, this was honestly a decent episode, objectively for sure. Most of my problems with it came with the fact that I could see decisions that could have been made both in this episode and in the long run that could have actually made so much of what is going on here great. I think my only like actual problems in terms of stuff that wasn't about long-term storyline decisions were with the humor. I just don't find the humor to be funny. I found the sledge in different countries stuff. I think idea was funny, but it just landed as kind of painfully unfunny for me. And the random cake eating fight that looked like mashed potatoes, unless it was mashed potatoes and I missed it. It's just, what it is for me that humor just isn't funny at all. And what also it is it kind of reminds me of something I brought up in discussions about Ninja and various other Toku series that will have humor in it, is that no, it doesn't help that it's not funny to me, but it's when you're doing it at a certain time, you're not allowing me to take the situation seriously. I'm not talking about the humor situation, but I mean the stakes of the overall series. And by seriously, I don't mean like this is the dark and gritty serious movie, but I mean like the stakes of the storyline. And if you're trying too hard in a stupid way for the humor too often, then I can't take the show seriously when it's trying to do actual plot and stuff, if that makes any sense. Like, it's not grounding itself, and that's kind of the vibe I got from that. But other than that, there was some solid stuff going on. It was cool to see Zeno Wing actually in sort of detail describe how he made the Zords, which is something we haven't gotten a lot before. Obviously that process couldn't be necessarily used as an all-purpose mythology for all the series, because it was about like combining living creatures' DNA with the Zord. Like, that wouldn't work for Lightspeed Rescue. It would be like, combine a ambulance DNA with Zord stuffs. But it was still cool nonetheless. My problem with that story, again, it isn't necessarily a direct, I hated this specific thing. It was more like a, this should have been this for me. Like, I think that Kendall should have been the one to have been working with Phil and Deadbeat Dad, whose name I'm forgetting at the moment. James, there we go. James the Giant, 8th grader. Anyway, I'm going off track. But I think it should have been Kendall, because she's the one that developed a lot of the Ranger system things, you know, like the weapons and stuff, and the Chargers, obviously. So I think it would have been a really cool story beat to have the person who's made a lot of the Rangers tech work with the person that made the Rangers Zords, and it would have made more sense, been more cohesive, and it also could have been a really cool opportunity to finally address how Kendall met Keeper. Like, they could have been talking between Keeper, Zenowing, and Kendall about how they all met, and we could have gotten backstory and maybe even a flashback. But if we didn't get a flashback, it's okay. But I just think that's a really cool element that deserves to be explored, and this would again been the perfect time to bring it up, to let the audience know about it, and also just kind of would have brought things full circle in a way, if that makes any sense. It made no sense why it was Shelby, that especially since Kendall would have been more competent since she's actually made tech, and Shelby just listened to Zenowing monologue for like 5 minutes. So yeah, I think that should have been Kendall's moment. And also, in this episode, we have Heckle sort of revealing himself to the Rangers for the first time as actually sort of helping them. And it just made me think of how waste of an opportunity Heckle is, because I really like Ryan Carter. I think he does a good job at the role. And one of the things that frustrates me most about the series in general is that there's so many elements that I could see me just loving if they were done right. Like, I could see Heckle being one of my favorites ever if it was done right. Like, I'm just thinking about how awesome this storyline would have been, like even more so, if Heckle had stayed infiltrated at the Rangers longer, actually semi-bonded with them in a way, at least from their perspective, and if the reveal had been much more dramatic that he was snide, and if the Rangers had ever discussed it. They never talked about it. We're one episode from the finale, and they never discussed it. Like, they mentioned later, like, oh yeah, Heckle was snide, but that was it. There should have been a full scene of them discussing it. Like, it could have been such fantastic build-up, and it would have been such a cool storyline for him to have become a ranger. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen, and it's kind of sad because it's like this really cool setup, and it would have been the second ever time that a main villain became a ranger since Corone. It's like I said, it frustrates me because liking the actor and the idea of the character so much and things that have been done in the character that I like, I could just see this enormous potential of a character that I would carry out throughout the series as a standout favorite. So that's just disappointing. But other than those sort of mythology things, was mainly kind of my thing where I'm thinking in the past and overall of stuff that could have been done better, but it was a decent-ish episode, you know. We got the building of a Zord, which is cool. We got to see the Spino Zord. There were some cool action beats. Unfortunately, there was the Krorur Galaxy. Another just... It's not even... I don't even care about the mispronunciation. I'm not like, oh, you disrespected my precious Sentai. It's more like, it's just too on the nose of a reference. Like, I think it's neat when they'll subtly acknowledge the history and sort of give a nod to the core fandom, like with the way they incorporated the Go On Jervan, or even, I mentioned this in an earlier review of the series, the humming of the Krager theme was a really subtle nod, like that you probably wouldn't catch, you know, if you weren't us. But naming them after things is just too on the nose pandering, and it just bothers me. Like, I don't even care about the pronunciation. It is kind of funny though. But there was that. But there was some cool bits about the Rangers finding out about Heckle's planet being destroyed, some sort of alluding to that, and alluding to something similar happening to Earth, and some good action beats. And it was mainly like, it was about making the Zord, but it also mainly felt like a setup for the finale. But like, it wasn't anything inherently bad, it's just I don't feel very much for it. Like, I'm not trying to be such a negative Nancy. I don't know. But like, it was just kind of, it was decent stuff. I just wasn't feeling anything. And I was mainly thinking about like, man, this could have been so much cooler, because the ideas are there, guys. The ideas are honest to goodness there. And I do like that the Rangers actually had the idea of taking the proactive approach. First of just like attacking, but then they're like, well, the Dark Energy Gem wouldn't be for sure destroyed. I think that they honestly could have just blown everything to hell and then like searched for the Dark Energy Gem amongst the rubble to make sure it was destroyed. That seems safer. But then they decided to infiltrate to find the Dark Energy Gem specifically, which in a way I could see being smart from certain perspectives. But what was not smart was going to infiltrate an enemy base unmorphed. I think that was kind of stupid. Oh yeah, because remember how in Age of Ultron the Avengers attacked that Hydra base in civilian clothes? No, that didn't happen. I'm sorry. I just think that was kind of a stupid decision, but there was some good thinking there. It does come off kind of stupid, even though they kind of explained the ship was cloaked, but in general, the situation's happening because they never checked if Sludge's ship was destroyed. Like, they're just like, oh yeah, it crashed. It's probably disintegrated into nothing. Like, even if they assumed everyone was dead, wouldn't they want to seek out the wreckage just to be sure that, I don't know, maybe even just to make sure there's no wreckage just sitting in the middle of a forest or something. It just, lots of random dumb decisions that I find myself thinking about. Like, even now I'm trying to get to the positive parts and I keep thinking of stupid things that are annoying me. But I guess my point is, I don't want to ramble on too long about bothersome things. There was some things that bothered me and some things that I think could have made this actually really cool. But the contents of the episode overall were decent. There was some decent build-up, I guess, and some decent moments. And we got to see Phil. That's always fun. So I'd probably give it like a 6.5. It was solid, decent stuff overall. Next week is the finale, and all we have left is the finale, which will be definitely a thing, and I will definitely have things to say about that. Obviously, because I would make the videos. And then we have the Christmas episode, which takes place after the finale, and will probably be awkward unless they address events of the finale. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure to check out the Crazy Podcast at writersrationsrambles.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.